Hi, welcome to Dasphere. Myself, Mohan Kumar. I'm going to introduce you to some of the important information about AWS. AWS, being the industry leader, provides many facilities which helps the customers to use the resources in the best way possible. Before we move into cloud computing, then AWS, let us look into some of the information about traditional infrastructure management. So when it comes to traditional infrastructure management, the key component of the infrastructure management is a server. So server is central for any of the operations. So whenever we say server, there are three key components. One is the processor. We can have multiple processors, so somewhat similar to SMP. Okay, so then we have memory. Based on requirement, we can have sufficient memory. Then we go for storage. Either it can be internal storage or it can be external storage. Depending on requirement, we can choose the type of storage we want to use. Now these are the three key components of a server is. Now let us look into some of the advantages and disadvantages with respect to traditional infrastructure management. So when we consider the advantages, some of the advantages are, so we can see the server physically, which is there in the premises, and we'll be able to use it for our purpose depending on the requirement. We can connect to a server and do the necessary configuration. So we've already invested for the server and further investment is not required. But when it comes to traditional infrastructure management, more than advantages, today's environment we can consider there are a lot of disadvantages. Some of the key disadvantages are, so you need to do upfront investment. Okay, you have to do upfront investment. So for the server or the infrastructure components. Then whenever there's any problem with the of the components, okay, we need to replace them. Okay, so physically the component has to be replaced, so which is going to affect the productivity. Third is, whenever you have done the investment for the server, so changes to the infrastructure will also lead us to obsolescence. So means the component becomes outdated, so we'll not be able to replace it immediately. This is also one of the disadvantage of traditional infrastructure management. So plus apart from this server, see the environment which is required to maintain the server is also required. Like, okay, we need to invest for non-IT infrastructure to maintain the servers, then human resources to take care of it. The configuration needs a lot of time. So these are some of the key disadvantages of traditional infrastructure management. To overcome this, the industry is moving towards cloud computing, which provides infrastructure as a service. Now let us look into grid computing. What is grid computing? Earlier we saw that part of a server, so we'll have processors, memory, then disk storage. So now we want to have a better capacity, means huge capacity. So then what we can do is we can logically make multiple server as one big server. So that is called as grid computing. So the entire configuration is grid computing. Means here we got processors which we have grouped. Logically it is one processor. We got memories, we grouped it as one memory. We got storage, we grouped it as one storage. So they can be of same capacities or they can be of different configurations depending on requirement. So we can have multiple servers, so multiple storages, multiple memories grouped as one resource, and logically it will act as one big server. Physically we'll have multiple servers part of a grid computing environment, but within that, okay, so logically it is will act as a single server. So this is grid computing. So next is virtualization. So when it comes to virtualization, so it is the opposite of grid computing. Grid computing, we're going to combine multiple components, physical components logically as one resource. But in case of virtualization, so we got memory, we got processors, and we got storage. So now part of our requirement, okay, we go for one virtual server. Means out of available processors, so we go for one processor. In that also we go for multiple virtual CPUs. We can have any number of CPUs based on requirement, but they are virtual CPUs. Means whenever you go for a CPU, so we can divide into multiple components, okay, or pieces, and we can use the number of CPUs we need for our server, but actually they are virtual CPUs. Then out of available memory portion, we can use it as one memory, and even with storage also, portion of the storage we want to use it. So now logically it is one server, one server. So but when you take physical components wise, it can be part of one physical server or it can be from different physical server, but logically it is grouped as one server. Logically it is grouped as one server. Out of that portions, we are using it for our purpose. We are using it for our purpose instead of entire resources available. So this is called as virtualization. So grid computing and virtualization are the two technologies which is going to rule the world. So now these two are the fundamentals for our cloud computing also. Backend, when we say cloud computing, so logically it is one big server, but within that portions we're going to use it for our purposes. Means it is a combination of grid computing and virtualization. On top of this, we got many other advantages when it comes to cloud computing. When it comes to cloud computing, is a combination of grid computing plus virtualization. So grid computing, as we have discussed, okay, so we'll have physically multiple servers, but logically it is one server. So which is having processor, memory, and storage. Logical is one. Now, what is virtualization is portion of that we're going to use it for our purpose as a server component. So portion of our processor, portion of our memory, and portion of our storage, and we make it as one server. So this is virtualization. So combination of these two is called as cloud computing. Means we go for multiple servers backend, so we group them and we make it as one resource, and out of that portions we're going to use and we're going to give it for applications users based on the need. That is called as cloud computing. Cloud computing is nothing but combination of grid computing plus virtualization, the technologies that is relevant and future of IT. What is cloud computing? Is nothing but internet-based computing services. Means we can access our resources through browser. Backend computing will happen, processing will happen. So cloud computing is also a way for grouping large number of remote servers. So means we'll have many servers, tens to hundreds, thousands of servers, group them as one big server logically. Is also a way of providing resources in a centralized way, being it computing, memory, or storage. See, physically, when you go for any component, there will be a limitation. But when you want huge volume of resources, so then physical servers or physical components cannot be used. In that case, we logically group them and we use them as a one big resource actually. So these resources are accessible through internet as a service. That is important, as a service. So we're going to access them. So that is what cloud computing is. When it comes to types of cloud we got, the first and foremost is public cloud. Means what? So we know that what is cloud computing is nothing but logically one huge server. Physically, it might have tens to hundreds of servers grouped as one resource. Now, out of that, so portion is used for one customer. So same logical component is also used for multiple customers. So your multiple customers are going to use same set of resources. In that case, it becomes a public cloud. Private cloud. So means we're going to group tens of hundreds of servers and we use it for only one customer. It is private for a particular customer. So a lot of security can be implemented. And here resources are dedicated to one customer itself. That is called as private cloud. So which is useful for storing critical and sensitive data. Now there may be a requirement where we need tens of servers. So in that case, all are not critical, all are not very sensitive. In that case, so the customers may prefer to go for hybrid cloud. Means it's a combination of private cloud as well as public cloud. It's a combination of private, public plus private. Means whichever is not critical, place it in public cloud. So those are sensitive, you can go for a private cloud. So and combination of this is your hybrid cloud. Now presently most of the organizations are having their own data centers. They have got their own set of servers. Now service providers, cloud service providers want to take over those service management. In that case, on-premises cloud is also one of the feature. Means the infrastructure is already there in place by the customer. So now the service providers, some like AWS, will take over those particular infrastructure, and with their services, they want to provide the cloud to customer. So here initially it was there already available. On top of that, they're going to bring in their own softwares to take care of the entire environment and provide the resources in the best way possible, that is on premises. One such very important cloud computing service provider is AWS. AWS is the leading cloud computing service provider. So what is AWS? Is nothing but a platform for cloud computing services. It's a platform which is going to host a lot of services and provide it to customers. Is a platform for using resources as services. So not just hardware components, it can be even other services also. So infrastructure, platform, software, and database is provided as service. So they are categorized as IaaS, infrastructure as a service, PaaS, platform as a service, SaaS, software as a service, and DBA, DBAS, so database as a service. So AWS is improvising all these layers gradually. So this is about, basically AWS is nothing but a platform providing computing services, okay, so for customers. So when you consider AWS services, you got IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So it is server, some like EC2 server, storage, it can be S3 storage, or it can be EFS, or even it can be EBS. So like this we can go for different storage depending on our requirement. See, not only infrastructure as a service, so AWS also provides PaaS, platform as a service, which is very important. See, today the requirement is to build newer applications for the present day data available in the industry. In that case, we can use different platforms. It can be Java related, Python, Perl, PHP platforms. So which makes it easy for developers to develop their applications in a efficient way. So AWS also provides software as a service, SaaS. So it can be mailing services, it can be queuing services, it can be notification services, and other type of services. Software as a service is also database as a service. So Aurora, AWS Aurora is one of the RDBMS. So then similar to that we got DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database. So AWS provides database also as a service. AWS also has got RDS, which is meant for providing database as service itself. So these are some of the categories of services available with AWS. So we can call them as categories or mediums also. What are the advantages of AWS? So why should we use AWS? Flexibility and host of choices. Means AWS has got a lot of flexibility in providing the services. We can use it for based on our requirement because we got host of choices. We can have plenty of choices available. Choose the right option for your requirement and use them optimally. So that is the first advantage we get with AWS. Okay, so for customer point of view, no upfront investment is required. No need to invest. You can set up your account. Okay, so by providing the minimal requirement like your configuration requirements, so then even there is no agreement required. So there is no agreement need to be signed. Billing is done monthly billing. So means whatever the resources you're going to use, based on that, okay, so you're going to pay. Means you don't need to pay upfront, which is one of the key drawback when it comes to traditional infrastructure management. Upfront investment is required. So here that is not required. Grow as you grow is one of the important aspect of AWS. What is that grow as you grow is grow the infrastructure capacity based on the business growth. Whenever business is growing, so steadily you can increase your capacity steadily. If it grows faster, so you can scale your infrastructure either manually or automatically. So that too in minutes. Means you don't need to worry about scaling your infrastructure based on requirement, because AWS has got capability to scale the infrastructure depending on requirement, so within few minutes. So one of the other advantage of AWS is low cost of ownership. See, there will be periodic updates, changes, enhancements. AWS takes care of it. We don't need to worry about it. No need to have physical space for maintaining our servers. AWS takes care of it. What is that we're going to do then is pay only for the period and time you want to use your resources, because billing is done per hour. So per hour, whatever the resource you're going to use, it will be billed based on that. If you're not using it for a period, okay, you can stop your resources so that the charges will not be done. With this, what will happen? You're spending less for having resources to your requirement. If you take traditionally, upfront investment you've done for 100% peak period, but your normal usage is only 20%. So what is it you're doing is you've already paid for it. But in case of AWS, you're going to pay as and when the resources are used, consumed. Because of this, the cost will be very less. Obsolescence is one of the important aspect in infrastructure management. So no need to worry with respect to AWS. Why? Why? Because what is obsolescence is nothing but resources getting outdated. Suppose if you go for traditional infrastructure management, if you have invested for a server and if it becomes outdated, you have to replace it. Means your investment will be high. But in case of AWS, so you don't need to worry about obsolescence, because you are not going to use the physical components. In that case, okay, so backend, what will happen is you're going to get the latest configuration itself. Whichever the components you're going to use, you're going to get the latest configurations so that you can utilize them for their capacities. So with this, what will happen? You don't need to worry about obsolescence, means outdated resources. This is also one of the key advantage of AWS. Now let us look into some of the important AWS services provided by AWS. So EC2 is nothing but your server. So Elastic Compute Cloud. So nothing but a virtual machine, virtual server for you. So you can decide the type of server you want. You got flexibility. If you consider traditional, so you got only one option. You have already invested it, you will not be able to change it. But in case of EC2, you got an option of choosing the right type of configuration depending on requirement. So if your application is a memory intensive application, you can go for such type of server itself. If your application is CPU intensive, you can go for such type of configuration itself. Means we got flexibility in choosing the type of EC2 instance we want. S3 simple storage service. Means storage is given in the form of service itself. Okay, storage is given in the form of service so that we can use it in conjunction with EC2, or we can use it as a standalone component also to store our data based on the requirement. So whatever we considered earlier, so we'll have a virtual server. Okay, so out of the physical component we got, so it virtually it can be one huge server, but physically it can be multiple servers grouped together. It is nothing but your cloud computing. So out of that portion, we are using it for our purpose. We are using it for our purpose as a virtual server. So that is your EC2 instance. It is called as EC2 instance. Is nothing but a server with CPUs, memories, and storage. This is EC2, which is nothing but a virtual server. When we consider S3, it is nothing but simple storage service. So here we will have a EC2 instance, where we're going to have a specific operating system, okay, and we're going to host our services. So now, for example, assume that okay, you got a service which you want to take backup and you want to maintain. So in that case, okay, you can use S3 storage, or if you need, you can use S3 storage, okay, and you can store some components where you can use it for your purposes directly without depending on EC2 instance. So there is no dependency between S3 and EC2. So in fact, S3 can be used by EC2 servers also to store their informations. It can be images, it can be backups, it can be logs, it can be even other kind of informations. Apart from this, S3 can also be used by users to directly store their information. For example, to host a static website, so the files can be stored in S3. So you can store your images in S3 and you can access them through your browser as a service. So this is the advantage of S3 we have got. We have got different type of configuration with respect to S3 also. Depending on the requirement, we can choose the right type of S3, and depending on the S3 you are using, so the cost also will vary. Basically, AWS itself is a cloud. So, but entire cloud is not available for customers. So part of that cloud can be used by customers as a virtual private cloud. They will have their own private cloud. So virtually it is private. So out of AWS cloud available, portion of that is used by customers and they're going to use virtual private as a virtual private cloud. What the advantage is? So depending on requirement, so whenever being customers, when we use virtual private cloud VPC, we can host our servers within that VPC and we can have multiple such type of servers within our VPCs so that we can make them to interact with each other. Only the servers which need to be accessed by users externally through internet, we can expose only those servers. Other servers can be kept within a cloud, okay, so as a private cloud. So that is the advantage of VPC. RDS, Relational Database Service. So whatever the administrative task which we have to do with respect to databases, we don't need to do it with respect to RDS. So based on your requirement, you can go for a server which is very similar to EC2 server. And on top of that, okay, so you'll have the necessary operating system and the software, RDBMS software. For example, it can be Oracle software, it can be MySQL, it can be SQL Server, or it can be even other supported RDBMS softwares can be on top of that particular operating system. Means entire stack you're going to get it as a service itself. So there you can do a lot of administrative automations so that your admin task is considerably reduced. You can focus on only using the content within the database. Apart from RDS, AWS also provides database externally. So it can be either RDBMS or NoSQL database. For example, so it can be DynamoDB or Elastic Cache or Redshift. There are plenty of other types of databases provided by AWS. ELB, Elastic Load Balancing. So when you got host of servers using for web services, so whenever the traffic is going to vary, distribution of that traffic is taken care by AWS automatically. So you need to enable the elastic load balancing so that whenever the traffic varies, so the distribution of the load will be done with the available servers within your configuration. So you can have number of servers, load balancing is done among those servers available for your application. Now, whenever usage is happening, we want to scale our infrastructure based on requirement. In traditional way, scaling is not so easy. We need a lot of time. But when it comes to AWS, it can be done in minutes, even if you do it manually. But assume that okay, your requirement is to scale it automatically whenever the load increases, so that without intervention of human, okay, so services. In that case, we can go for automatic scaling. So it is our responsibility to monitor the resource usage and set some limitations depending on the resources. Okay, so in that case, we got a component called as CloudWatch, which is basically to monitor the resources and the activities that is happening within your account. So with this, what will happen? You'll be able to clearly understand how much resources you are using and whether you want to take care of anything. You can define events based on requirements so that whenever you're reaching a threshold, you'll be intimated so that you can take necessary actions. Okay, you'll be aware or informed based on the requirement. Okay, so the resources you are using. So these are some of the key AWS services. Basically, AWS has got 60 plus types of services categorized, and they have been added very frequently so that okay, so many services are available day by day. So but as of now, okay, so 60 plus services are available with AWS. So next, let us move on to the important component of this introduction session. So why AWS for you? So the first thing that we'll consider is career prospects. So AWS is not new; it is there. It was used for their internal purposes. Gradually, it has been scaled as a service also, and the industry has adopted it. It's growing very fast, so it has been adopted. So, and probably around 30% are AWS cloud services. So in that case, so being administrators, we should be aware of all these aspects, okay, and we should be proficient in managing AWS resources. So customer needs AWS skill set from administrators, because there are many components which are required by customers, but more than using them, we should be always aware of, okay, the implications also. So otherwise, unnecessarily, the cost may increase. We should take care of it. When we know the optimal components to use, so then we can take care of the cost also. AWS is growing very fast. It has taken the first mover advantage and growing very fast as a product. Day by day, the number of services are added and they have been improvised also. By using AWS, so we can scale to industry standards easily. So AWS is easy to use, easy to configure, easy to allocate resources to end users, customers. So ease of use is also one of the key reasons for AWS to grow faster. Because of this, we can adopt it. But whichever is easy is also troublesome sometimes. If you are not using the optimal resources, okay, so or based on the cost, you may end up paying more. So that is the reason. So conceptually, you should be very much comfortable with AWS, so that you know what is that you're going to do. Because easy means we may spend more. In that case, if you know the conceptually how AWS works, the component works, and what is the right amount of resources you have to go for, so then you can take care of cost also. So these are some of the key reasons for you to update on AWS. So that's it with the introduction session of AWS. So thank you.